Okay, here we go.
The Annihilator. You can absorb light. I can see it.
Why didn't anybody tell me?
Higher. Further. Faster.
No, please.
I can manipulate light energy.
No more.
She tore a hole in space.
Dad, I'm scared. Get the phone.
I'm invincible.
Call 911.
I'm asking.
I think Oh.
Monica, you gotta fly. Black girl magic.
The Marvels is the latest Marvel movie, and it is definitely, well, it's garbage. I'm not gonna even fluff it up. It is a terrible, terrible film, and I do not understand how some people actually like it. It is, if it's not mediocre, it is definitely a shit film. Like, I can see people saying, oh, it's a mediocre film, but this is just garbage. Now, one of my first videos, well, my first review, was Captain Marvel, and looking back in hindsight, I was definitely a lot more, let's say, generous to the film. At the time, I was definitely on that Avengers hype train, but with the benefit of hindsight, it was a terrible film, and I'm gonna be honest, I think it is one of the worst Marvel movies in the MCU. I think The Eternals is definitely my least favorite. Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness is pretty bad, and then Captain Marvel is around there somewhere. But the amount of bad Marvel projects now is utterly staggering compared to back then. But enough about history, let's get on to the review. The movie opens with Benjamin finding a bracelet, very much like Miss Marvel's, as we cut over to Miss Marvel, drawing and writing out her fanfiction about Captain Marvel. Kinda weird, but it really shows how much of a self-insert the character is. Now, to be fair, I don't actually mind the actress. I think the character is kind of cringe, but the actress does a really good job. I know a lot of people give her flack, but I actually don't mind her. She actually brings somewhat of an energy to this movie. She starts off in her regular clothes, and after a couple of doodles, she is in her costume. And I haven't seen Miss Marvel, so maybe there's a reason for this, but based on what it shows, is that it seemed like she was acting out her fanfiction, which is really, really cringe. And then all of a sudden, her bracelet activates and she gets flung into the door. We then show how this all began. Basically, Captain Marvel goes to a planet to find out what Benjamin stole, and she touches some weird energy thing. At the same time, Monica Rambeau is like fixing up the Saber space station while she sees this portal, you know, the jump point, and all of a sudden it's like not working that well, so she touches it, and then all three of them swap places, like in the trailer. The reason for this is because their light powers are entangled, and it's just really weird. It turns out Benjamin's Kree Goonies are attacking Monica Rambeau, and then as all three of them use the same powers at the same time, they all transfer to the different locations in the universe. And basically, Captain Marvel gets swapped with another character, Monica swapped with another, and Miss Marvel swapped with another. You know, they're all linked.
Okay, so our powers are entangled.
Now, it's an interesting concept of having these three characters have their powers interconnected, and it gives it, on paper, it gives the action sequences somewhat of a neat perspective. However, in terms of execution, it is not really handled well. I think the CGI really lets it down. The camera work it's not bad, but it just doesn't really hit. But I will say it does have a somewhat fast-paced energy, and it keeps it up. But there are moments where it's just really unbelievable. However, during this fight, we have one cool Nick Fury moment, and that's when he kills a Kree member while sitting down, and then he does a little flip with his gun. That is the only cool part of Nick Fury in this scene. It is pretty cool. Anyway, after the fight scene, Monica and Fury go down to Kamala Khan, and then Kamala and Captain Marvel switch places while using the powers at the same time. And essentially, Captain Marvel swaps with Kamala, and then she has to go back, and then we have that falling in the sky scene and this stupid moment.
Black girl magic!
Yeah, it's every bit as cringe as the trailer. Really fucking stupid. So, after Monica and Kamala save each other, they get transported because Kamala used her powers with Captain Marvel, and they get transported to the Kree ship, where Benjamin is waiting to find the Annihilator, also known as Captain Marvel, because of reasons you'll learn later. But then Captain Marvel shows up like she has super speed or whatever, and it is, like, really stupid. The fight scene, I don't know, it just didn't work for me. So after defeating all of Benjamin's cronies, she just says, fuck this, and she jumps off the damn ship like she wants to kill herself. However, Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, and Monica Rambeau go down to the Skrull refugee planet. So, hold on. You're telling me that the Skrulls have found a new planet? I thought the whole point of Secret Invasion was they couldn't find a planet. So, if Captain Marvel helped them find this colony, why are they all spread out? What is this bullshit garbage? This is so stupid. They already have a planet now. Benjamin then steals the Skrull colony's air, and essentially, well, it's essentially Spaceballs at this point. Like, the villain just steals the air. Really? It's kind of stupid. The Skrulls have to evacuate. However, not all of them get out. And to be fair, this is one of the smaller, decent moments in this film where Kamala wants to save as many people as she can, if not everyone. However, Captain Marvel realizes the situation and has to tell Kamala that not everyone can be saved, only the people that they are able to. And it is a small, decent moment. But it's just, in this, it's not good, like, at all. Anyway, Valkyrie shows up to save the Skrulls that were evacuated. But how does she have access to the Bifrost? This makes no sense. Did Thor, like, owe her one? Like, what?
Bullshit!
Anyway, Captain Marvel then uses this device that essentially re-shows your memories, and it is essentially a Kree torture device, very much like she used in the first film. And this device is essentially used to recap Captain Marvel, WandaVision, and I think Miss Marvel. But that just proves they have a serious problem. Like, the executives must have known that even though Captain Marvel made $1 billion, no one remembers it. No one watched WandaVision. No one watched Miss Marvel. Like, I don't even remember much about this these three characters. Now, admittedly, I haven't seen Miss Marvel, but I have seen WandaVision. I have seen Captain Marvel, and I can't remember anything. However, they are going to a planet that Captain Marvel helped save, which is inhabited by water, conveniently enough. And after a montage of them getting used to swapping, it's kind of alright. I mean, it's nothing terrible. But yeah, after that montage, they essentially go to that planet. And then we come to the moment that everyone fucking hates it. The song and dance bit, because the characters only speak in song, and it is just bleh. It is painful. It's painfully long. It's just boring. It felt like an eternity. It grinds the movie to a halt. And I don't care who you are. It is stupid. I fucking hated it. Like, who approved this? It really just feels like the Disney executive came in and said, we need to Disneyfy it even more. Besides the obvious.
But Mrs. Kennedy, Bambi's a baby deer.
Fuck baby deer, put a chicken in, make her gay.
Anyway, they speak to the prince who was the husband of Captain Marvel, and essentially they get their uniforms to prepare for battle as they inform the prince that Benjamin is coming. We then get Captain Marvel's new costume. We then get Monica Rambeau's new costume and Miss Marvel's new costume. And only one of these looks somewhat decent, Miss Marvel's. The other two, what the fuck were they thinking? Captain Marvel's looks like a fucking depressing costume. It's dark colored and it looks cheap. It looks freaking cheap. Monica Rambeau's looks cheap as shit. It seems like they only spent the budget on Miss Marvel's costume. Anyway, fighting. Nothing really happens much as Captain Marvel, Monica, and Miss Marvel have to retreat. Oh yeah, I haven't mentioned this, but the villain is freaking terrible. She has no gravitas. She has no presence. She is a pathetic, weak villain. Maybe she's good as a rom-com protagonist, but in this, she is utterly pathetic. Pathetic as a villain. She doesn't have any menace. She's not sympathetic. She's just a terrible, boring, soulless villain. Anyway, they escape, and then they go back to the Saber station. However, at the same time, Goose essentially gave birth to a bunch of kittens. All the evacuation pods are gone, so they essentially unload all the cats on the people. And it's played out funny and horrific, and I don't know, it's trying to be Guardians, but it just doesn't seem right. But yeah, while the cats eat everyone, Monica finds the location where Benjamin is hiding, as she wants to steal Earth's sun. After saving everyone by letting them be eaten by the frickin' kittens, they crash down to Earth as Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, and Monica go to stop Benjamin. They have a quick fight, it's nothing really interesting, and essentially, the villain gets stabbed by falling debris. And instead of having a sympathetic moment where she realizes she's wrong, she's just a freaking bitch, and she just does the only evil thing imaginable. Holds a little girl hostage, Miss Marvel. Benjamin then hits the bracelets together as it opens a hole to a different universe. And they show this in the trailer, and it's pretty stupid. Anyway, Monica then turns into a MacGuffin as Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, shoot energy into Monica, and then she goes to the opposite side of the universe and closes the hole. Now, in theory, it's supposed to go for this emotional moment, but why doesn't it address that she can pull it to her on her side of the reality rather than going to a different side of the reality and pushing it? It makes no sense. Miss Marvel then goes back to Earth, as Captain Marvel needs to fulfill a promise as she blows up the Kree's sun. Nah, I'm just kidding. She essentially does what Icarus does, and essentially reignites the sun. I swear, what is up with all these Marvel projects ripping off All-Star Superman? Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel move back into Monica Rambeau's family house, and essentially they're keeping the place tidy until Monica can come back. But then we have a, I guess, end of movie credit scene. It's not really a credit scene, it's like before the credits, a pre-credit screen, where essentially Kamala goes and finds Miss Bishop as she tries to set up the Young Avengers, which it sucks because it becomes really meta as she's trying to do the whole Nick Fury scene from Iron Man, but it just comes across as too meta. Maybe in a Deadpool movie, sure, but this is a Captain Marvel sequel. You shouldn't be so meta about it. It just comes across as hollow and self-referential for the sake of being a reference. Anyway, we then get to the mid-credits scene of the movie, where it essentially sets up the X-Men. Monica is in a different universe. She sees her mother, who isn't really her mother, as Kelsey Grammer's Beast walks by. As his CGI looks terrible, and his voice, like, I love Kelsey Grammer, but it doesn't match up with the animation. It looks like a terrible cartoon. When it's standing still or moving past the camera, like, you could barely see it, it looks fine. But when you see it move with the mouth and it has motion, it just doesn't work. Anyway, the point of this scene is to show that she's in a different universe. It's the X-Men one, and essentially that her mother, or at least her alternate version of her mother, is a superhero. Now, I don't know the character, but I have read up on her. Her name's Binary, and she is essentially Carol Danvers. So they changed Carol Danvers to her. I don't like it. Don't stay for the end credits. It's just a bunch of cats going meow and spewing and shit. So that was The Marvels, and it is terrible. Like, it is freaking god awful. And I just remembered this, but the whole reason why Captain Marvel never saw Monica Rambeau was because that she couldn't face her after essentially leading the Kree into a civil war that essentially ruined their planet. I don't know how that happened, but it's become really stupid. And the reason why they began into a civil war is because that Captain Marvel destroyed the intelligence, the thing from the first movie. But, like, how did a civil war lead to the sun dying? But back to the end of wrap-up. It's not good. It's just not. The acting is pretty terrible. Like, I think Monica's actress, I don't think she cared for this movie. She just does not act well. Maybe she's a good actress, but I can't tell from this movie. Brie Larson somewhat gives a okay performance. Some moments she's okay, but it's an improvement from the first movie. Still bad though. Miss Marvel, the actress, I don't like her character in terms of her being a fangirl. I don't know, it feels very self in Cersei, especially when they mention fan fiction. But the actress is really good. I think she gives off an energy that the movie needs. Now, I don't think that she is particularly great, but like her performance gives this movie an energy that is sorely needed. It doesn't save the movie, but it gives you something to be like, oh, okay, so there's someone that's trying to act in this. The costume design in this movie just sucks. It is terrible. Besides Miss Marvel's bright costume, one of Brie Larson's costumes, I bet you can guess one, and Captain Rambeau's, or Monica Rambeau's, little skirt thing. Besides that, I thought all the costumes just looked terrible. Some shots looked competent, whether they be CG or just regular ass shots. They looked okay. And also, the last good thing is that it's short. It doesn't waste your time, particularly a lot. But still, I want my 1 hour and 45 minutes back. Okay, those were the positives out of the way. Negatives. The CG was mainly ass. It was terrible. It was horrendous. Like, I couldn't believe how bad everything looked. I could believe this is the cheapest Marvel movie. I can also believe it's the most expensive movie and they just had a bunch of reshoots. It looks so bad, so terrible. I just couldn't believe what I was watching. Everything they set up sucked. The mid-credit scene just sucked. It was like, ooh, X-Men theme song from the 2000 movies. Ooh, remember that? And, oh man, that Young Avengers setup. It was terrible. Like, I don't know what they were thinking being so self-referential. Why? Why do that? That's so stupid. Just, why?
But why? Why would you do that? Why would you do any of that?
It was so funny when they had to recap the original movie and every single other characters. It's like, it's so silly. But like, they gotta do it because no one watched them. Benjamin, or Darben, I think, is a terrible villain. The actress has no gravitas, no nothing. She has no presence. She's just a pathetic character. Like, she is Dollar Store Ronan, even less. Like, she's just a horrible villain, and I don't get how people actually think she can be a compelling, stoic, evil villain. No, she just sucks. Deal with it. This movie feels like there's a missing movie in between Captain Marvel and this. Like, she goes to the homeworld and then she, like, annihilates everyone, but it just feels like we're missing a movie, like Captain Marvel 2. It's weird. This movie is a waste of time, and I don't see how people can like it. At best, people will find this mediocre. That's what I think. At worst, it's just a terrible, god-awful film. Is this the worst MCU movie? No. The Eternals is much boringer, and frankly, I find it more offensive. Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness is another bad film. But there have been so many bad Marvel projects, it's hard to keep track anymore. But anyway, I'm glad I saw it, because I get to make reviews again, and I'm really happy that I get to do so. Personally, I would rather see a good movie, but, you know, we can't have everything. Thank you all for watching this review, and please like, comment what you thought. I would love to hear your thoughts on Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, WandaVision, or this movie. I would really appreciate that. And yeah, I would like to know why you like this movie, if you've seen it and liked it, because it baffles me. But anyway, that's all I'm saying. Once again, take care and have a good one.
Put a chick in it, make her gay!